Russell T Davies' Years and Years was so accurate about political collapse that it got banned in China. What did he reveal that terrified an entire government? Russell didn't just create a dystopian drama, but built a time machine that shows us exactly how civilization collapses. Every prediction feels inevitable. Every character choice mirrors decisions we're making right now. The performances are absolutely haunting. Emma Thompson transforms from beloved actress to terrifying dictator so smoothly you don't notice until it's too late. Russell Tovey delivers heartbreak in every scene as Daniel, making you feel his desperation for love in a world that's forgotten how to care. The entire Lyons family becomes your family. You suffer with them, celebrate with them, and ultimately mourn with them. Davies shoots this like a documentary from the future. Handheld cameras capture intimate family moments while news reports play in the background, creating this suffocating sense that history is happening, whether you're paying attention or not. The production design is well thought. Everything looks normal until you notice the subtle changes. Different logos, altered technology, the gradual shift from democracy to authoritarianism. Regarding budget, the show cost £10 million and took 2 years to research. Davies consulted political scientists, economists, and climate experts. This isn't fantasy, it's extrapolation. Every catastrophe has precedent. Every political move has historical parallel. The cultural impact has been massive. Political commentators reference it constantly. Academics use it in classrooms, and China banned it entirely. When a dystopian show gets censored by an authoritarian government, you know it hit too close to home. But Davies doesn't present solutions. He just shows consequences. The transhuman subplot isn't about technology's potential. It's about what happens when humans lose their humanity. The refugee crisis isn't about immigration policy. It's about what love costs when the world stops caring. This show launched careers and ended others. Several actors couldn't get roles afterward because casting directors said they were too associated with political content. That's the power of authentic storytelling. It changes everyone who touches it. So here's what happens when a family tries to survive the end of the world. The story begins in 2019 with businesswoman Vivian Rook appearing on Question Time. She shocks the audience by saying she doesn't give a fuck about the Israel-Palestine conflict. Rosie Lyons gives birth to son Lincoln while her brother Daniel worries about the world Lincoln will inherit. 5 years pass. Donald Trump wins a second presidential term. China builds an artificial military island called Hongsha-Dao in disputed waters. Daniel marries Ralph, Queen Elizabeth dies, and Viv Rook fails to win election as an independent candidate in 2022. A Russian-backed military government takes over Ukraine. Daniel manages a refugee camp where he meets Victor, a Ukrainian who fled after being tortured for being gay. Cracks appear in Daniel's marriage as his feelings for Victor grow. Viv starts the 4-star party, named after the asterisks that censored her televised swearing. Rosie goes on a date with Tony, but leaves disgusted after discovering he has sex with his house robot. At grandmother Muriel's 92nd birthday party, the family video calls absent daughter Edith, who's traveled to Vietnam near Hongsha-Dao. Air raid sirens sound in the UK as news breaks. Trump has fired a nuclear missile at the Chinese island. During the chaos, teenage Bethany tells her parents Stephen and Celeste she's transhuman, to her mother's horror. Celeste reverses her opposition amid the crisis while Daniel leaves Ralph for Victor, and they have sex for the first time. By 2025, Edith survives the Hongsha-Dao nuclear strike but suffers radiation exposure. She returns to the UK. Bethany calculates radiation patterns and realizes Edith has 10 years to live, but Edith keeps this secret. Celeste loses her job to artificial intelligence, forcing her and Stephen to sell their London house. 18-year-old Bethany gets cybernetic hand implants as her first step toward transhumanism and starts working as a data miner. Daniel divorces Ralph and lives with Victor, but Ralph spitefully reports Victor's illegal petrol station job to the Home Office, getting him deported to Ukraine. Rosie and Edith attend an election debate where Viv Rook electrifies the crowd. Rosie becomes a Rook supporter despite Daniel's dismay. Stephen and Celeste sell their house for £1.2 million after mortgage settlement. They deposit the money in a single bank account overnight, but a banking crisis triggered by an American investment bank collapse wipes out their savings completely. With nowhere else to go, Stephen, Celeste, and their daughters move into Muriel's decaying Manchester house. Viv Rook wins election as MP in a Manchester by-election while Rosie cheers her victory. In 2026, the banking crisis creates a recession. Viv proposes a national IQ test, barring anyone with IQ below 70 from voting. Ukrainian police come to arrest Victor, but he escapes. Ukraine criminalizes homosexuality, so Victor illegally enters Spain to claim asylum. He reaches Madrid, and Daniel visits him, planning to get Spanish citizenship and marry him. Edith returns to activism, infiltrating a corporation with Syrian dictatorship links. She steals information that creates a scandal, shutting down the corporation. Bethany befriends Lizzie, another transhuman teen at work. Ready meal automation makes Rosie's job redundant. Stephen works multiple low-paid jobs and begins an affair with co-worker Elaine. Celeste discovers the affair but doesn't confront him. The siblings' estranged father dies from antibiotic-resistant sepsis after a courier's bicycle strikes him. They attend his water burial to support Stephen, who's the only one emotionally affected. They meet Stephen with a V, their father's son from his second marriage. Rosie tells Edith she always believed their father left because he couldn't handle a disabled child. Bethany and Lizzie secretly travel to Liverpool for black market cybernetic surgery using £10,000 Stephen gave Bethany for her 18th birthday. Bethany calls her mother in distress. Lizzie received a malfunctioning eye implant, but Bethany escaped unharmed. Celeste is initially relieved but later furious that Bethany wasted money during their financial crisis. A general election gives the four-star party 15 seats in a hung parliament, allowing Viv Rook to determine the balance of power. Hearing the results, Stephen uses his rental car to run over a fellow courier's bicycle in frustrated rage while his siblings watch. By 2027, voting becomes universally mandatory and the coalition government collapses, triggering another general election. Countries destabilize. Greece leaves the EU. Italy's government resigns. Hungary declares bankruptcy, and the United States leaves the United Nations due to extreme nationalism. Spain's government falls to a far-left revolution, putting Victor at risk of deportation. Stephen has a bad reaction to a paid drug experiment. He calls Elaine to pick him up, but the clinic accidentally calls Celeste too, creating an awkward bedside meeting. Arriving home, Celeste coldly confronts Stephen about the affair on a family conference call. Muriel angrily demands he leave her house, and Stephen moves in with Elaine. Rosie starts a mobile catering business with new boyfriend Jonjo. Edith warns Jonjo she's suspicious of his intentions toward Rosie's young sons and will be watching. With Victor facing repatriation to Ukraine, Daniel decides he must illegally bring him to the UK. Their trip fails. They can't sneak across the border, and thieves steal their money and passports while they attempt to buy forged documents. Finally, they try sailing in an overcrowded boat from France. Half a mile off the British coast, the boat sinks. Daniel drowns along with most passengers. Victor survives and returns alone to Daniel's Manchester apartment. The family rushes to the house, but Victor won't answer the door. Viv Rook becomes prime minister. In 2028, Viv Rook promises freedom to supporters but begins arresting opponents. Catastrophic flooding and two dirty bombs displace huge numbers of UK residents, prompting a law requiring people with extra space to house victims. Edith works with relocation authorities and becomes suspicious that the poor are becoming erstwhile, a euphemism for being disappeared. Victor, now in UK custody, tells her about this. Stephen visits Victor to tell him that unlike the rest of the family, he still blames him for Daniel's death. Checkpoints are erected around Rosie's Manchester neighborhood due to criminal activity, and she loses her catering van license. Bethany gets a brain implant enabling direct internet interaction, but also government spying on her family. Stephen is depressed. He couldn't pay for the surgery, leaving Bethany as a virtual indentured worker to the government that funded it. Muriel is diagnosed with macular degeneration and uses her last £10,000 savings for fast-track NHS surgery that reverses the condition. Celeste gets along better with Muriel, but bristles at being treated like an unpaid servant. Rosie and Jonjo become engaged, and Edith moves in with her new girlfriend. Stephen degrades himself to get a high-paying job as a yes-man to Woody, an old acquaintance who calls him his monkey. Bethany uses her cyber powers to help Edith break into a facility keeping records of the erstwhiles, and witnesses her aunt's near collapse from radiation sickness. At a business auction at Checkers, Stephen unexpectedly encounters Viv Rook, who reveals herself as a slick, fascistic monster while hinting at being controlled by someone behind the curtains. Woody's company wins the contract to maintain two erstwhile concentration camps, intended as death camps. Stephen uses the company's computer system to send Victor to the camp, which Bethany sees. At Daniel's memorial service, Bethany alone knows her father has betrayed Victor and sent him to likely death. 2029 begins amid a monkey flu pandemic. Bethany grudgingly tells Edith that her father sent Victor to the death camp, fearful she'll be implicated in illegal activity and lose her implants. As attacks on journalists increase, the BBC shuts down. Muriel blames the family and humanity for various world problems, saying cumulative small acts of indifference created their toxic environment. Steven breaks up with Elaine, buys an illegal gun, and puts it in his work desk. Victor wants to contact the family with a smuggled cell phone, but towers at the camp block all signals. By manipulating Steven, Celeste gets a job at Woody's company to gather information about erstwhile camps. Rosie and her neighbors are outraged when her son and his friends are locked out of their apartment complex during an early lockdown due to an incident elsewhere. Edith and her activist friends take steps to free Victor and blow up signal-blocking towers, causing camp inmates to rush the gates while armed guards threaten them. Simultaneously, Steven confronts Celeste while she's helping Edith using the company's computers, revealing he intended to broadcast incriminating evidence against Viv Rook's death camps and then kill himself. Woody charges into the office and Steven shoots him in the leg. With signals unblocked, Bethany and her work friends broadcast footage from the camp to the entire country. Rosie breaks through the curfew fence around her estate with her catering van to her neighbors' cheers, and this civil disobedience is also broadcast nationally. With the camp liberated, Edith collapses to the ground. Later, Viv Rook is charged with murder relating to erstwhile sites. Though it's unclear who financed and backed her, the BBC reopens. Steven goes to jail for 3 years for shooting Woody, but emerges with a new lease on life. Though Steven and Celeste don't reunite, their family is happy again. Rosie and John Joe marry and have a son named after Daniel. The timeline jumps to 2034, revealing that the entire series was Edith's memories being uploaded to a water molecule-based database. Bethany watches from Muriel's home as a hologram, while Edith's body dies. Edith tells the technician she doesn't believe her consciousness can be encoded because the human spirit is more than information. The series ends with the whole Lyons clan gathered around Muriel, unsure if Edith's consciousness was uploaded to the cloud. What did you think of Victor's survival while Daniel drowned? Did Steven deserve forgiveness for his betrayal? Please share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button.